Lost has some of the most broken support in the Pokemon TCG standard format right now, with the great draw support of Comfey and Chorus, solid attackers with Cramorant and Sableye, and then of course amazing energy acceleration with Mirage Gate. Lost Box simply does it all. People played it in several different ways before, but today I'm going over the four primary ways to play Lost Box: Goodra, SableZard, Greninja, Mirage Gate, and Giratina. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of each, and I'm going to rank them from 1 to 4 so we can figure out which one you should be playing right now. So kicking us off at number 4, we have SableZard. SableZard was the first iteration of Lost Box we really saw when Tord Ratcliffe won the Peoria Regional Championships with it, but it has not aged quite as well as some of the other builds on this list. Of course, we have the early pressure with Cramorant building into Sableye pressure, and then we try to close out games with Radiant Charizard. I just don't think that strategy is quite as effective anymore, as Pokemon are just getting bigger and bigger, and there's just simply quicker ways to get Sableye, get to 10 in the Lost Zone to use that Sableye attack. Like before rotation, you had Superbanat, you're playing Pokestops, tons of Lost vacuums. It wasn't that unrealistic that you could get to 10 in the Lost Zone on the second turn of the game, but now I feel like SableZard is missing that first step that made it super quick and explosive, made it super oppressive with Sableye. While I do think it's still a solid pick, I do think it's definitely outshone by other Lost Zone box decks. This list here is incorporating a few new Paldea evolved cards. Artisan is just a great consistency boost for pretty much every single Lost box deck. Being able to search for a basic Pokemon is obviously very appealing in those opening turns. Also, Jet Energy just allows you to get more flower selectings off in a single turn, so it just really makes a ton of sense for pretty much every Lost box deck. And lastly, Super Rod makes a ton more sense in SableZard because we are playing Claws to recover Pokemon, but we're not playing Mirage Gates. We don't necessarily need the heavy recovery of an energy recycler, but also we can use the Super Rod to get energies back, or just have an extra way to recover our Pokemon. So to sum it up, I would say SableZard still has that explosive Cramorant pressure, just can't quite get to those Sableye plays quite as quickly. And I'll just say the late game strength of Charizard is not what it used to be, and there's just simply there's just Lost box decks that can close out games a whole lot better. At number 3, we have Goodra VSTAR. Goodra VSTAR has 270 HP and a very strong rolling iron attack, which for a water metal colorless does 200 damage. It makes your Goodra VSTAR takes 80 less on the next turn. It has that Moisture Star VSTAR power, which means once per game you can heal all damage from your Goodra VSTAR. So Goodra, as you'll notice, this is not your typical Goodra list. Before we've seen as many as 3-3 Goodra, a very heavy Goodra based strategy, but I feel like in the new Paldea Evolved format, it is very tough to be a tanking and healing deck. Gardevoir is arguably BDIF with Zacian and Chilling Reign Gardevoir that can easily reach big one-hit knockouts, and of course there's that new Chien-Pao EX, which can very easily hit upwards of 300 damage, which of course is not going to be playing to Goodra's strengths. So now we have to sort of be a hybrid build. We still have that Goodra approach for Lugia and Lost Zone box, but now we are sort of pivoting over to we're playing more single prize attackers such as Sableye and Zamazenta. Of course, we're still playing that one Cramorant. I will say Spiritomb is a pretty solid win for the deck. We didn't really like playing Drapion before. It was a card we sort of had to play out of necessity because Mew was a terrible matchup. But now we can play that single price Spiritomb. I guess you can't on TCG Live right now because things are bugged. But you can play that Spiritomb, shut off those Mew decks. Also have versatility in other matchups, and it's not such a bad starter. Other than that, we are playing, of course, 2 Jet Energies. Jet Energy is just an awesome card for most Lost box decks. I'm probably going to be repeating myself with Jet Energy a lot in this video, but I love this card in all Lost box decks. It works on Goodra because it was just one colorless in the attack cost. We can use that Jet Energy to yeet it in the active spot, or we can use it in the early turns to pivot through our Comfeys, get that flower selectings going, get to 7 in the Lost Zone to be able to use Mirage Gate. And like the SableZard deck, we are playing 2 Artisans. Lost box decks can be a bit inconsistent, so it's just very important that we establish our board early, get several Comfeys down, get that turn 1 spit with the Cramorant, get Radiant Greninja going. I know Artisan can't grab Radiant Greninja, but Lost just wants to go very wide on the very first turn, so playing lots of Artisan, Nest Ball, Ultra Ball Valley, VIP Pass, just make sure we have such a strong setup with this deck. And lastly, the other new card we're playing is Super Rod. Like the SableZard deck, we don't really need heavy energy recovery like a Recycler because we're not really running Kyogre, so we can have that Super Rod, which is a bit more versatile, can get our Pokemon back, whilst also providing enough energy recovery to get us through the game. To sum it up, I would say that Goodra VSTAR is a very boring pick. It doesn't really do much very well. It just sort of does its thing, and sometimes that's good enough to win games when you're against those two-shotting decks that really do not like that rolling iron damage reduction. When you face something like Chien-Pao or Gardevoir, or decks that can one-shot your Goodra without much effort, things will start to fall apart for you. And at number 2, my personal favorite Lost Zone box deck is Giratina. This is a list that I ran at a recent late night event. I finished in 11th place at like 300 people. I could have tied my last round and made top cut, but I was feeling very tired. Those late night events run, as the name might suggest, very late into the night. It was like 2 a.m. I was tired, so I decided to play it out and lost. So this is where I'm at with Giratina right now. You have that Lost Impact doing big damage, 280s one-shotting all Pokemon V-Stars, and that Requiem attack just one-shots everything if you have 10 in the Lost Zone. So of course Giratina is just doing big damage, but obviously will not be trading very well with single prizers. So we have to give it some support. So I'm playing, of course, one Cramorant, just your cookie cutter Lost Zone attacker, as well as the Sableye with that Lost Mine. And then I'm playing one Tropius, which Tropius really is seen playing Giratina, but not a ton of widespread play. For a Grass and Colorless does 120 damage if one of your Pokemon got knocked out on the last turn. So we can use this to hit weakness on Ting-Lu and Tyranitar. So in that Ting-Lu matchup, I like to use Abyss Seeking in the early turns, because they're just going to be two-shotting, so we can get through the deck, get stuff into the Lost Zone, and when they do knock out that Giratina that you're using to use Abyss Seeking, you should respond back with a Tropius and take that one big one-hit knockout. For this late night tournament, I was rocking a Wo-Chien. I didn't really care for it though. I didn't really use it. Like, the idea behind it was in that Chin-Pao matchup, to be able to like rock Sand or Iono your opponent just a couple cards, and using that Covetous Ivy to take a knockout on like a Palkia or a Baxcalibur or something. But in actual practice, it wasn't really that good, and I feel like your Chin-Pao matchup is already okay, and like other matchup is really pretty good in is Arceus, which you already should be winning. So I feel like a Wo-Chien probably should be a Drapion. My list has definitely come a little bit since I played this deck last Tuesday, but I think this is like sort of a solid starting point. You definitely can go a few different directions if you'd like to. Like if you want to cut Recycler for a second Rod, I wouldn't really hit that, or even just slim down the Giratina lineup a little bit, add some more single prize attackers. I'll play Artisans instead of Temple of Sinnoh. There's really a lot you can do with this deck. Giratina is very versatile. I feel like it's one of the most underrated decks in the format, in my opinion, and maybe that's just because it's so difficult to play, just because you have so many different options, and really timing when to drop Giratina is a very important skill, because you don't want to be dropping Giratina on the first turn, because you can't really use its attacks for usually the first 2 turns of the game, so it might just be an easy 2 prizes for your opponent to gobble up. So it's just like really a hard deck to play. So if you're planning on bringing this to a upcoming tournament, I definitely recommend getting quite a few games of testing in beforehand. But I would say that Giratina, it's not as good as number 1 on this list, but I would say it's still a very solid pick in the current format. If it wasn't so darn difficult to play, it definitely would have a shot at number 1. And finally, the best Lost Zone deck, in my opinion, is Greninja Mirage Gate Kyogre Lost Zone box. This deck just has the best of both worlds. We have the powerful single prize base in Sableye and Cramorant, and we also have that late game pressure with Kyogre. So even if our single prizers can't take all of our prizes while our opponent is trying to set up, we still have just Kyogre, which is one of the best closers in format, using Aqua Storm to discard the top 5 cards of your deck, and then being able to snipe 2 of our opponent's Pokemon, doing 50 damage for each energy we discarded. So being able to do 250 snipe to 2 of our opponent's Pokemon, potentially taking 4 prizes late in the game, is just simply so powerful. I really like this list right now. This is Jeremy Gibson's list that he won the late night event with. Actually, the same late night event that I got 11th place in, and Jeremy actually beat me in my win it in 2 top cut. I hubbed a Natsu ID, which was definitely a mistake in hindsight, that because I would have made top cut if I would have ID'd, but Jeremy caught me pretty good, and I love this list a lot right now because it has 3 Sableyes and 2 Manaphy, so it just feels like you're gonna be very favored into Mirror. It always just feels really bad to like spend Clara or Rods in the early turns on a Manaphy in Mirror, because you kind of have to keep it on the board, otherwise Moonlight Shuriken is just simply too big of a threat. But with 2, even if 1 is prized or 1 gets knocked out, you just always have 1 accounted for. And also, these Snorlax in this list is just another menace for that Mirror match, because if they're just playing Cramorant and Sableye, the only way that they can one-shot Snorlax is with like a Dragonite, which feels so bad to drop in that Mirror match. So I think this is definitely a more Mirror teched out list. I definitely feel like it could struggle with Arceus Duraludon or decks that have bigger, bulkier Pokemon, because you don't really have that like Dragonite or big way to one-shot a Pokemon V-Star. So if they were playing like Cheren or some healing, I definitely could see that being a pretty tough matchup for you. But I just think Kyogre is just so good into pretty much every single matchup. There is a bit of concerns like how Iono is going to interact with Kyogre, because obviously putting you down to just a few cards And Kyogre needs the deck to be very low. It needs to have both Recyclers. It needs to have a Mirage Gate. So it has to have a lot of combo pieces in hand. One thing about Kyogre, which is like sort of an underrated play, is you can just not take any prizes. Just have that 4 prize Kyogre play lined up. So even if you're playing Iono, you're still gonna draw 4 cards, and you still have a few pieces to work with. It's not like if not like you're just getting Iono down to 1. So I feel like a bit of it is a bit of an overreaction to say Iono kills Kyogre. But also with the 3 Pokestop in this list, you're going to be drawing it early. You're going to be able to get through the deck very quickly. So to sum it up, you pretty much are just the dominant single prize deck. You have a very strong early game with Kramer and Sableye, and you're also the very best late game deck because you have Aqua Storm that can take up to 4 prizes late in the game. So I just love how balanced this deck is. You might want to, if you're considering playing this deck, you might want to explore adding in like Dragonite or some big attacker if you're struggling with those VSTAR matchups. But I think this list is a very solid starting point with one of the best decks in format right now. What do you think of Lost Zoom Box? What is your favorite way to build it right now? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you like this kind of video, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. And if you want to see another video about one of the other best decks in format, in this video I break down Lugia and go over the pros and cons of both builds of Lugia and which one you should be playing in the current standard format.